Hello everyone, hello dear listeners, dear viewers, welcome to the Lisa Burke Show. Great to have you with us here again, giving you some news from the people who come to Luxembourg, move through Luxembourg, are from Luxembourg, end up in Luxembourg and all of the above. But the stories hopefully are certainly cross-border stories, and today that is for sure, because the ladies I have in the studio have their own histories as to how they came from or to Luxembourg and the work that they do here and abroad. So in the studio I have Isabelle Constantini, who is an author amongst many other things. But Isabelle, I know I'm going to turn to you to introduce your background, which is very diverse and vast. And I also have Christine Hansen, who came to Luxembourg as a baby, in fact, from Colombia, I've just found out. But you are here to talk about a wonderful development organisation you have using horses. So it's equine coaching, corporate coaching here in Luxembourg. And both of you also share the passion for horses. Now, Isabelle, turning to you. You have been an actress, you've been a film director, a casting director, you are a horse rider, a European champion no less, and you currently live in Spain, but you're from Luxembourg. So to our wonderful audience, introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, and thank you for having me here. Well, my life has been quite filled with a lot of things, and I started as an actress. I went to Paris to study theater, started as an actress, and then came back to Luxembourg and meet the whole cinema movement that was here, and I started to work on films, on shootings. I did assistant director, I did casting director, all kind of things. And besides that, I must say I always had the love and the passion of the horses. And I was always horse riding as an amateur. And, I went up to European Championship. I wasn't a champion, like you said, European champion, but I went to the European Championship as an amateur, and quite happy with that. And at one point of my life, and that's why I became an author, I decided to leave all this life full of things to go to live in the nature. I bought land in south of France, and I wanted to have my house there in the middle of the woods with my animals, with my horses, with my little daughter at that time. She was 10 years old, to be more in a, let's say, a real feeling life, nature, and it didn't go that well, and that's why I wrote this book and became an author.
Well, congratulations on the book, which is available, and we will link to that, of course, in the show notes. But what instigated that move? Because as you say, you had a 10-year-old daughter, you were on your own, you moved to a part of France, from my understanding, you didn't have friends in that area, so you just picked a place in the south of France, glorious part of the world, beautiful for sure. Why that move? Why that choice? That's a brave choice.
Yeah, I was quite brave, and it didn't look that brave for me at the beginning. I don't know. It was the dream. It was my dream since I've been 19 years old. I had seen Montpellier at that time, and I thought, wow, how beautiful this part of the world. It's blue sky, it's warm, people seem much cooler. And I had lived in Paris, but I didn't. It was like a dream. It became a dream, and I always thought one day I will go back to south of France. And the years went by, and I did all these things, and I was always very happy here, but at one point it was really it was like feeling too much, and I wanted to go back to this reality of simple things. And especially with all my passions, theater, cinema, horse riding, at the end I choose the biggest passion was the horse and the nature, and everything that is around the horse and the nature. And I wanted also to have a place to save animals, and south of France was just like appealing. And that's why I went there. Yeah,
I mean, it's a big shift in your life from the film world, from all of what one imagines to be around that circus of entertainment. And I can imagine, of course, especially being female, it's quite a tough world. Just sitting on that, have you any stories from that part of your life?
Well, a lot of people say it's a tough world for women. I didn't feel it that way. Not at all. Not at all. I was really lucky, as well in theater as in cinema, So I went to Paris to study theater, and after quite a short time, I was engaged in a play, and I went to the festival in Avignon. I was 19 years old, and that's like what? Wow, you're already there. Well, the play was not very good anyway, and I got the chance. But I think I always provoked the chances to play to make a lot of plays. All around in Luxembourg and Germany and France. And then when I started the cinema, it was quite easy. I got engaged immediately in the first project. I asked, can I be part of it? And very, very short time after that, I went to see Tarantula. And I said to them, and I had no idea, I want to shoot my first short film.
Which is a production company here in Luxembourg.
Yes. And they said yes. And I didn't have any experience in it, but they said, let's do it.
So there's clearly an openness to you. There's a clearly, when you have an idea, you go for it. You ask the questions with a beautiful face, a beautiful smile, and people say yes to you. So you take this spirit, this esprit that you have for living life fully. You take that with yourself and your daughter to the south of France. What happens?
Yeah, that's then the dream that becomes, well, that turns out like a horrible dream. It turns that I find the place, the real perfect place. It was a small house. We didn't need very much because I was only me and my daughter. It was big land, a lot of woods and land to have all my horses, to breed horses, to go out for walks in the woods. And as we arrived, we had problems first with the hunters. They really, really didn't respect me at all. They were always parking there. They were always there with their dogs. The dogs were completely historical, and the horses were really nervous about it. And I always said to them, look, this is not working out with my horses. Can you just go further away? And they didn't want to go. They just didn't want to listen to me.
So hunters in I don't know what the law is in the south of France, they were allowed to hunt on your land?
Yes, probably allowed. I don't know, but they were the chiefs there. The hunters in south of France, I think there are laws, but they don't really respect the laws. They come when they want. They come with their dogs when they want. And they always say to me, don't stress. We will take care. And they didn't, because very, very short time after we moved, 1 month, I just had done European Championship with my horse. He was at the top level of Grand Prix. And the horses, the hunters came, and the dogs were around, and they started to run after the horses. And it was impossible to calm them down. And my best horse got injured. And that was the end of his sport career. That was 1 month after arriving in south of France.
And did they know that horse?
They came afterwards saying, I'm sorry, and we have an insurance, never got any money of the insurance. I tried the treatment and everything. We tried 1.5 years to get him back, and he never got back. And then after a while, they came a bit less, but they came less because I hired some guy who was cutting some trees to make the wood a bit better, and that would make noise, and then they didn't come. But they didn't realize, they didn't want to realize. I remember I went to the president of the hunters of the village, and I said, look, this happened. And he said, yeah, but it's only a horse. He didn't die, didn't he? You know, like that. And I said, come on, it was not just a horse. It was my best Grand Prix horse. And we were qualified for the World Championship in France. So you have this experience with the hunters being very aggressive from the moment you step foot on your own land, which you've bought with your amazing horses, particularly this one. What was his name? Rimbaud, of course. Rimbaud, like the poet. Rimbaud.
Ah, like the poet. Yeah. Okay, not the one I had in my mind.
No, not that one. Rimbaud.
Okay. What about the other neighbours?
Yeah, it was a very, very small village of 8 houses. So in the middle of the woods, 5 kilometers from the little city that I will not, well, I can say it. It's Lorch, and it's in the Var in France. And there were only 8 houses, and I had some nice neighbors, but I had one couple, and not a very young couple. They thought they would start to do mobbing. They were bullying. Yes, bullying. They were really mean to me, and they started to do a lot of mean things, starting with little things like going to the police to say, yeah, you haven't done this right, we haven't done this right. These were the little things in the beginning, but then they started to cut, how do you say, les fils,
the leads, the electricity,
the electricity on the field, so that the horses would run away. So they started to open boxes so that the horses would run away. I will not tell everything, but this is because it's everything in my book. And I really felt harassed all the time. I didn't know how far can they go? How far can this meanness go in them? And they weren't just mean with me; they were mean with all the other neighbors. But I called the police and I said, "Come on, this and this and this things are happening," but we didn't have proof that they were there. We were in the middle of the woods, and she, especially the woman, she would come at 6 o'clock in the morning and trying to do things. Mean things.
But where does this jealousy come from?
I don't know if it's jealousy, envy. I don't know. Is it because I was a foreigner? Although I speak French, it's my mother tongue. So, but obviously I was not from France, and I was not from that region. I never understood this. I still don't understand it.
And how long did you last there?
1.5 years. Not long enough. I should have thought more.
Well, what did it take out of you? I mean, this is a story of harassment and bullying and not being accepted into a very small, particular region. I mean, yes, this is in the south of France, but it could happen anywhere. So it's a story of how to try to belong. And it didn't happen in your case. And you were being very open and you were trying your best. I'm quite sure of it. And, a mother and a daughter, one would imagine they would be accepted and brought into the fold of a community, but the reverse, in fact, happened to you.
Yes and no, because on the other way, I had some nice friends that are still friends, the good neighbors. If you read the book, you have the good neighbors also that are still my friends, and they accepted me very well. I still have some people that I know,
but they couldn't overcome the bullying aspect.
No. I was in fear all the time.
And so it's the negativity that took over in your story. It's, even though there were good people there, it's the negative experience that it's foremost in your mind and memory.
At that moment. But today, I really took it as a lesson of life, because today, I have been able to transform this bad experience in something positive, which is my book. And at that moment, I was too much inside, and you have all these negative feelings that come up. But I didn't want to. I was really trying to stay in the non-violent thinking, which is very difficult because you are scared. What is going to happen to my horses? What are they going to do something to my daughter? And you are in there. You are in the fear. But I always said, because a lot of people came to me, yeah, why don't we burn their house? Why don't we do? And I said, come on, this is Hollywood. I'm not going to enter in any of that. I don't want to enter in that game of harassment, of aggressivity, because I really think that harassment can be the beginning of a war. Okay, you do me harm, I do you harm. And then you do harm to my daughter, I do harm to your husband, and so on and so on. And that's the beginning of the war. And I always said, no, I will try to stay cool, well, out from the outside, to be polite, and maybe give them an example, which didn't happen. I didn't give any example. I just, at the end of the day, I said, this is really too much, and I'm just too scared for my loved ones. So I go away from that place and build another one.
And where do you go now?
Now I have bought another stable in next to Barcelona.
So you moved to Spain.
Yes.
At the time, did you speak Spanish?
No.
So again, let me just come back to this point of resilience and moving around. These are decisions that most people don't make. They don't just find a plot of land somewhere and think, that looks great. Or most people move for a job or because they're with a family, but you are on your own with a daughter who's still young, who still is school age, and you're going to start again. And this time you're starting from a place of a less romantic vision. You've already, I can imagine, I'm trying to just put myself in your shoes at the moment. You're worn down by these difficult neighbours. Yes, of course, some friends and good people there, but the difficult neighbours are the ones that force you to leave effectively. And then you find this place in Spain. How do you come from that place not being your strongest self to start again with a language you don't speak in a place you don't know?
I don't think about these things. I came back after France. I come back to Luxembourg. And the thing is, once you've lived in a warm country,
right. So you're following the sun.
Yeah, right. The thing is, when you do a lot of horse riding, which was at that moment, I was riding 4 or 5 horses every day. When you do this in Luxembourg, and it's so cold during so many months, and you try to do it on a high level, you get worn out, physically worn out. And at the moment I thought, my God, I have to change country again because I'm not gonna stand it. Well, probably eventually I would have been able, but then I thought I cannot stop with this bad experience. I want to go back to live in a sunnier place. And my brother has a holiday house in the Costa Brava, and he said, why don't you come to Catalonia? And I said, oh God, I don't speak Spanish. I wanted to stay like in my in between commas comfort zone of my languages, which is in Luxembourg already a lot of languages. And then I went to Barcelona, and I fell in love with the city of Barcelona, and I thought, wow, this is great. And in addition to the city that is great, there is quite a lot of competitions to do dressage, to continue my horse riding career. But there I knew I would give up completely because of the language, completely the whole artistic part, because I still not see myself doing theater in Spanish or Catalan. Yeah, but then I arrived there. When you speak so many languages, just learning one more is very easy.
Extraordinary. Well, through all of these experiences, I mean, there's so many little fil, to use that word, of your life. And it has brought you to bringing it all together in this book. And really the overriding theme, the overarching theme is one of empathy. And you deeply believe that if we all could develop that empathy inside us, it would make for a more beautiful world all around.
Yes, empathy. But the empathy is coming now. It's like I discovered that because I wrote the book, because I'm starting to think about what happened to me, people have harmed me, and did I react good, didn't I react? A lot of introspection, and a lot of what can we do nowadays to make this world better? What can we do? You listen to the news, everything is negative, and everything is put into negativity. Even the good things, when it's raining and we need rain, my God, it's raining too much. So everything is negative. What can we do? We will have artificial intelligence very soon is going to be much, much better than we humans. So what is left to us? Empathy is one of the very few things that is left to human beings. This empathy is being opened to the world around us, to the people around us. Not only the empathy of being able to put yourself into somebody else's feelings. This is one thing. This is the strong thing. But just to be open. And I'm really trying. I'm really trying always more and more to understand what I mean with this empathy, because obviously. And a very nice thing. Yesterday I was talking to my best friend about empathy, and he says, well, empathy, do you sound like a priest now or what? And I said, yes, but I think it's important. And then he said, yeah, I have empathy for my family and my restricted family, friends area, circle. I don't see myself having empathy for the rest of the world. And I said, but look, this empathy is for me, in my case, want to develop that for the nature around us, to understand the nature for the animals overall, because I'm a vegetarian, I've been a vegetarian for 30 years, and I cannot understand that people eat so much meat without thinking how much we harm these animals.
As an aside on that, I've just come back from a long weekend in Berlin, and they have a museum there called the Disgusting Food Museum. I don't know if you've been to it.
No.
I think if you want to make anybody become a vegetarian or possibly even a vegan, visit the Berlin's Disgusting Food Museum and you'll come out feeling... They give you a sick bag.
Ah. Oh my God.
Anyway.
I don't need to go there.
We digress. We digress. It's about, it's about listening to nature, being permeable to all of the feelings around you. And I know that you believe in feeling the energy of the world around you too.
Yeah, the energy. Because we are all energy. We are all energy. And if you start to realize how much energy we are, we humans, animals, even the nature is a bit more complicated. The scientists are still looking for the answers about how much energy or how do the trees work and the plants work. And I'm not going to go into that discussion because I still don't know it enough. But I know, for example, I've had a man who is healing people with energy, and my daughter has learned that. So we are very much into that, and it really works. He saved actually my life, my physical life, because he helped me with his energy. And it's very easy.
I just want to pause there. So you don't need to tell us, but you had physical pains.
Yes.
Do you think that was brought on by the stress of your living situation?
Obviously.
Yes, obviously. But you seem to deal with things mentally in a very stoic, resilient way. So the reason I'm asking this is because normally when difficult things happen to people, it lands somewhere, whether emotionally or physically or most likely both.
Yeah.
And so how did he fix this for you then?
Yeah, it's not a one session, huh? It's really, I had, for example, a lot of back pain because I was taking too much of problems, all kinds of problems. And I think back problems is something that so many people have because you take on your back, and you don't let it out. And then it comes and then it blocks some of your organs internal. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And these are things that are, people go to psychiatrists or they take pills to take the pain away, but it doesn't take the cause away. And when you go, this is called kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
Thank you.
Same word.
Yeah. And then he just started to go there saying, like everybody, I didn't know anything about it. I said, well, I have back pain and I have ear pain. And then he starts to put the hand and then he starts to say words. And I was just like, what's going on here? I didn't know at the beginning. What's going on? How? Without asking questions, just putting his hand, not even touching me, just like a few centimeters away from my skin, he can find the right words that my body suddenly start to release, and the organ starts to work to breathe again, and it gets then all your body gets more light, and you get away with these words that are blocking your parts of your body, and this is pure energy. So don't tell me that it doesn't work.
It might be also that wherever he is focused, your mind is also going to that place, and you're also helping yourself by thinking, yes, in this area, I need to help my own body. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the science or the reasons are behind it, but I think it's still certainly something that needs to be investigated further. Yes. But if it works, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
On the point of energy and communication, I think that's the perfect point to turn to you, Christine, because you're working with horses, with the equine coaching and leadership development area, in fact. But let's just bring it back to basics. I think most people will be aware that working with animals is certainly an increasing way in this disconnected world that most of us, not you, Isabelle or Christine, but many, many people, particularly those living in cities, may not have any access to animals. And it's certainly something that I've seen increase the idea that you can work with animals, be it dogs, of course, we've seen them come into schools, etc., support dogs, or horses for younger people, for all sorts of reasons. So what is it about, let's stick with the horses, what is it about communication with horses that can teach us humans anything at all about communication?
Well, there's so much to say, but I'm going to keep it super simple. So the first difference I think that you have to realize between dogs, cats, guinea pigs, whatever you want to use, and horses is that horses are flight animals. So you could do the same kind of thing probably with elephants, but not very convenient. So horses, they really survive on reading body language wherever they are. So they are hyper sensitive, and they are really honest, which is why they are a perfect match when you want to get a reflection of who you essentially are.
Come back to the word flight. When you say they're a flight animal, I mean, we've already had an example of it, Isabelle. What do you mean by
a flight
animal?
So you have predators.
Yeah.
Those are animals that hunt. Horses, they don't hunt. They survive from knowing when they are endangering and running away. So their first instinct is always to run away. If they don't know you as a person, they need to scan you through, sort of, and see, do I want to trust that person? Is that person going to harm me? And it's not just people. It's objects, it's sounds, it's food, it's smell, it's everything. So everything is deserved, basically. If you have a horse trusting you, it's really because you sort of deserve it. And that makes them incredible mimic readers, energy readers. They really read your nervousness. And I love that because you can't fake it.
But what about horses that have been trained to be tolerant?
Even if you have let's maybe not say trained, but a well-mannered horse. So, for example, if you come to our riding school, those are horses that have been evaluated to be a little bit more compliant. So they are not super nervous. They withstand more stress usually, and they just have a more calm temperament. They will still react to you. And it's fascinating because if you have a horse in a riding school, let's say, and you have a little child that is taking riding lessons, it will be a super nice horse, super careful. And if you have someone overly confident, maybe a good rider, experienced rider, it might be that horse changes its tune very, very quickly. So they don't mean harm. I don't know many horses that have a mean streak without a difficult backstory. So if you have a horse that hasn't experienced anything negative, they are not naturally aggressive towards anything or anyone.
And so how do you use these then to form that to teach leadership in a completely different way?
So we have a system or a structure that we use, and it really goes, and I actually like that it's really also designed for people who have no clue about horses. So it's not about riding at all. The first thing is really to get to know a horse and also the dangers with it.
I mean, we should say that actually, from what I've read of your courses, you can do the entire course without ever riding a horse.
Yes, absolutely. We will not put you on top of
a horse.
Exactly. So you will be next to a horse, you will be touching a horse, you will be observing horses. That's actually what we start with. So you have an introduction just for safety measures because they are big animals, and we don't only have ponies. We will have horses that are really, really big and that weigh 700 kilos. So we just give an introduction. And then the first exercise is actually just to observe them in a herd, trying to see if people can recognize who might be a herd leader, maybe a herd order, what are the characteristics of these different horses. And then depending on the situation, we might add a horse and see if that changes the dynamic. And it's really interesting because you can take their patterns and translate them to your own team. And that gives wonderful discussions because we all see different things. And then you have the science of horses and their herd dynamics as well, which might come in interesting because you might misinterpret something, but you're never wrong. Whatever you're seeing, there's always truth behind it.
And how does a horse leader become the leader?
There are micro symbols up to more forceful symbols, but in general, it's all about body language. It's about just having the confidence, not being maybe as frightened as the others. So the leader of a herd might distance themselves from the herd because they want to keep watch, and they have the courage to actually do that, which might be interpreted, if we don't know that, about someone, oh, they are bullied, or they are, they don't fit in. And when you then explain, actually, this is the big boss of the whole herd, it changes so much.
Is the big boss always the biggest?
No. Oh, no. It's
No.
very often the smallest.
Yes.
And is there a male-female difference?
It tends to be females. It's not.
Yes.
It's not a given, but it tends to be strong. What do you call it? A matriarchy? Is it a matriarchy?
Yes, it is a matriarchy.
Exactly.
We like that word.
Tends to be. I'm not saying it's 100%, but most of the time. Yeah.
That's also very interesting. Why do you think that is?
Most of it, I think, is sort of because they can have children, foals, and they need to protect them. And it's just the mama bear, it's the mama horse instinct that comes in. They are just they're quicker, more courageous, and maybe also more active. It depends. But I just find that is why they tend to just get more courageous after time.
And what, for people who have come and done this course with you, what is the feedback, the most surprising feedback that you have received?
It's a lot of different things. I think the most beautiful first surprise is to actually be close to a horse. Even people who have been to, let's say, a farm on holiday and had some rides, it's actually taking the time and observing and seeing and touching that horse. I'm saying everywhere in air quotes, but just feeling the grace of the animal, even if it's a tiny pony. It's just a build of it. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, I think that they're always surprised is how much they actually learned about themselves, and sometimes how they thought they had a certain presence and might have misjudged it. So it's really interesting for people who think they are too on, as in having too much presence, and then you see the horse not reacting. Or people who think they are too timid, but actually you can see the horse snapping it up, being respectful and doing the exercise or the job that we're asking from them. So, and that is a lesson learned that I find really interesting for everyone.
So you're talking about the energy that is transmitted between the person and the horse in front of them.
Just the general presence, how you appear. And it's a big difference because you can't fake it.
And so how is that asserted? Is it body language?
Yes. Most of it is body language.
Is it eye contact?
Sometimes, not always.
And what type of body language does a horse respect?
So in general, again, you can't fake it. If you are scared to death, they will pick up on it. But it's just your stance, the way you walk towards them. The pace can be, but doesn't necessarily have to be. Your voice. Do you actually talk to them? How do you talk to them? Your movements in general, and also how you talk to yourself. So sometimes we will do an exercise and tell people to think a different sentence. So for example, go through the group of horses and you're thinking, I'm going out towards the world. Then come back and think the world comes towards me, and we'll just observe. And you will see that the dynamic, the horses interact and move is different.
What is the difference there? Because that's a fascinating question.
If you go out, your energy goes outwards, and the horses tend to make way for you. If you say the energy comes towards me, the world and its issues comes towards me, you regress, you get smaller, you protect yourself. And it might be that a horse that is a little bit more keen or a little bit more cheeky, let's put it that way, will come towards you to check out, who is that one who might not have come up to you in the prior version where you were like, I'm going out, make way. And those are little things that will just explain the word mindset to people who've never had contact with it or never experienced it with a real visualization of what it actually does.
So you saying then effectively you have seen evidence of the horses literally either coming towards or walking away from you, depending on what thought you have in your brain.
Completely. And I notice it myself when I go into the stable, on how I feel, whether I'm stressed, whether I'm patient, on how my horse will treat me. If I'm stressed, she'll get snippy with me, like as in, you need to calm down now. Whereas when I take a lot of time, she's all relaxed and wonderful. So they are literally a gauge, like a sensor that you can use. And it's just fascinating.
So then if you do find yourself in a sharp mood or a snappy mood or a negative mindset, how can this experience, one might know in their own minds, oh, I need to, change. I don't want to feel like this. I need to change my mindset. How can you do that? Or do you just say, okay, I'm going to think a positive thought? How do you flip that switch?
That's the thing. You can't just flip the thought. It helps, obviously. But one of the things is that we ask you to just touch the horse maybe on their flank and just breathe with them, and you will come down instantly, because you just feel everything, the warmth, the energy, the body, and you will see how the horse is starting to breathe differently. So it's really a beautiful, tool might be a little bit harsh, but it sort of is a tool to really help, which is also why it works very well with kids, for example. Now, we don't do therapy with or with children.
Yeah, just to say this as an aside, this is not, but of course, therapy with horses, for all of the reasons you've just explained, does exist. And one of the great reasons is because with the horse therapy, you don't have to talk.
Exactly. And you get an amazing feeling for your body on these animals. So
and there is science behind this.
There is a lot of science in different departments of academia. So you have articles in management journals, you have them in organizational studies, but you also have them, of course, in educational departments. So where it's more about horse-assisted learning, and then management and organizational studies is more about the impact on development, leadership training.
Right then. So leadership training with horses. What type of leaders have come to you so far? And what type of leaders have exited from you?
So there's very different ones. We had independent CEOs come in, but also one we just opened. So we're still very much in the beginning, was a previous CEO or not a partner at one of the big auditing companies. And then we soon have an organization where the middle management will arrive. And then we have an NGO that's interested with their team. So it's all kinds of different group settings that can come. And what is also a possibility is you don't need to come with your whole team. You can also say, I'm interested, and you will be a mixed group, but everyone will have their own evaluation and will pull something out of it. And then you can come on your own as well if you don't want.
May I ask what the male-female ratio is of these groups?
Well, the last one that we had was mainly male versus female. And it's one of the things. I think it's fairly recently that women are necessarily more present in the equestrian world, because it didn't used to be that way. And it's one of the only sports in the Olympics where you have males and females, women and men competing together.
And women are better than men.
As an aside. But it used to be a military sport, basically. So it's a world where when men come and they open up to it, it's really, really powerful for women as well. But the dynamic is different. I can see men and women handling horses differently, but you learn a lot through it and watching and just experiencing it.
And it's quite nice that it's something that can be done by both male and female leaders. And the horses are kind of like the middle ground there. And
they don't know. They don't know if you are a CEO, if you've just been hired, if you are the janitor. They have no idea who you are. And that's what I love about it. Obviously, it can be a little bit tricky if you have someone who's very much of an alpha ego and he doesn't manage to get that across because it's more of a facade than a true nature. But that helps as well. You just need to be open to it. Or if you are someone who might think, I don't necessarily want my team to see that, then you can still come on your own and we can work with your presence, etc. So
it's really fascinating to me. And it's nourishment. I know this is another word that you love, Isabelle, the nourishment of the soul and the energy and of the person. And of course, you've transformed your life for a long time now to be around nature and horses. So despite everything that you've gone through, this love of nature and horses, how has that helped you manage the stresses of your life?
Well, I think nature and especially horses, it's very nice what you say. Actually, it's very interesting. I will come to your course. The thing, what I realize is when I am with horses, is you have to be in the present, like 100%, because they weigh 600 kilos, and they can have a movement that can break your foot or do you harm. That's one thing. So you have to be with them all the time, trying to understand what their next movement are going to be. Mine are not so well trained. They are trained when I ride them, but not like standing next to you. They're not always that careful. So to be in the present and to love in the present, because it's a lot of passion you have when you are with animals every day. They give you so much without, as you say, they don't care who you are, if you earn money, if you don't earn money, they just feel you. And they have empathy. But I would go further of what you said. For example, my mares are, I'm sorry to say it, much more sensitive than the boys. For example, when I don't feel good, and I have a very spooky mare. That's the best mare I have for the moment. She's very spooky. She's afraid of everything, and she needs me as a leader. I have to lead her. But then some days I am sad or tired, and I don't switch that off. I climb on her with my sadness. And there, suddenly, she takes over and she says, I'm going to give you a good time now.
So she's the balance.
She is my balance. But that only works because I have a very, very strong connection with her. But they can, through the body language, they can feel. Like the boys, for example, my Rimbaud, he was always like, oh, no, don't come with your negative energy. I cannot deal with it. And then I would go to the mares with my whatever sadness, and then she would help me. And I think every time you have whatever problems you have, when you go back there, you touch with your feet, you touch the ground, you are automatically connected with the wind, with the bad weather, the good weather, the horses, the smell. You are in that moment. You cannot be with horses and not be in the moment. And that already is like meditating. It's like yoga. You don't need to do yoga when you have horses. You can do it, obviously, but you don't need, because it helps you open to what you are at that moment.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you the question because both of you have had the luck and opportunity to grow up around horses or make horses part of your life. They're oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh,
I started horse riding when I was 38 years old. So
this is good to know.
I'm very new at this.
Okay, 38 years. Okay, this is very, very good to know, because I was going to say they're not the cheapest of animals.
No, they're not.
It's really a privilege for most people to get the opportunity to ride.
It's financial idiocy, absolutely. But it's either that or the therapist for me. So
okay. Yes. And when you have horses, I never go on holiday. I cannot go on holiday. I have too many horses with my daughter. My daughter, she's 22, and she says, Mama, I would like to go on holiday. I would like to see this. And then I said, it's a choice. We have horses. We can go 3, 4, 5 days, but we can never go very long because we cannot go together. Now she's below us, so maybe she would go and I would take care of the horses. So I don't spend money in holidays or clothes, because my horses, they don't care if I have, but it's a choice. It's a way of living. Mm-hmm. And it's not that expensive. I heard of tennis classes that are much more expensive than horse riding classes. So it's not that expensive. And I think you can have a horse if you don't, but then you only have the horse.
Well, I was going to say, for those who haven't got the opportunity to even be around a horse, what methods of what you've learned in the development that you've learned, and that being at one with nature or animals of any sort, what advice would you give for people who don't, and young people I'm thinking of, who don't have the chance to be around animals of that stature? What could they do?
I think you had to get a little bit creative, seeing that in our stable we regularly have young students coming to help out, and to also, if I go on holiday, for example, I need someone to move my horse. So I will ask a student to come and move her, to help me out. And very often...
You mean ride her?
Ride her. But even if it's not riding her, just moving her, lunging her. And there's always work. And I think you just have to ask in different stables, different people, or just hang a note on the blackboard of a stable saying, hi, my name is, I'm that many years old. I would love to spend some time here. Do you have some chores? And people are more than willing, because we all have weekends. I don't want to come all the time and get her in. Like, I'm very spoiled that I have other people bringing her in and outside. But if I can't do it on a weekend, then You know,
But it's
you
a
will
joy
always
to
find-
them also because, of course, a lot of people certainly can't afford a horse or haven't got the time, particularly students, or basically anybody. I'm thinking it's a lot of time. It's really a lot of time. I want to bring it back to the word of introspection, Isabelle, to you, because that is something that you have said with all of the things that happened and coalesced in your life. You have spent a long time, and in your wonderful autobiography, which we will certainly link to, this is really the culmination of your introspection of all of the things that happened. So how did you go about that sitting with what happened and trying to piece it together and creating a narrative through your story?
Yeah, actually, what really happened when I was there, when you are, and that's what I said before, when you are in the present situation of a, let's say, a little war, neighbors war, but it's like I felt, even if the world is quite hard, you are in there and you have to find solutions how to deal your day-to-day life, and you cannot analyze it. And then when it stopped, when I came back, I started to try to understand what happened, why these people were so mean. Okay, the thing about the hunters is a bit like this macho world of south of France, and me being the woman and with the horses and the foreigner, that I can more or less understand. That was quite easy to understand. But then the neighbors, this mean, how do you say it? Meanness of these people. And then my reaction. And why wasn't I more aggressive? I guess if it had happened 15, 20 years before, I would have been much more aggressive. But in that moment, and then when you have a little daughter and so many animals around you, you try to protect your family, and you try to find a way that is not an aggressive way. And I try to analyze that. And that's when my introspection started. But at the beginning, after it happened, first, I couldn't speak about it. I was crying all the time. I was really, really messed up when I came back. I was really, really like, hurt from inside. I was like, and then I tried to write a journal, a diary. And that was not enough, because in the diary, I was the victim. I was the poor little girl that had gone to France and they treat me bad. And then I thought, this is not what I want to say. And then I had to think, at one point I said, I'm going to write a book, but I'm going to get that story out of me and write a book for the people, so that it is like something that I can watch from outside. And there, the introspection began. The trying to understand what happened with them and what happened to me, and how did this experience change myself. And I think through the writing, I just understood that I'm so, no, this is not good, not so happy that it happened to me, but actually almost happy that something like that happened to me, to find my inner me, the good part of me, and especially not to let that bad part. I think we all have a dark part, and every human has a dark part. And if you get the reason, if somebody gives you the reason to get it out, you get it out, and then you get angry, and then you go into hate. And in this case, I didn't let it out. I really wanted to keep it down. And now I really understand that I really want to vehicle this world of empathy, love. It might sound a bit like love, we love each other, but it's really that what I want to say. I want to say, try to understand the people around me and connect with the people around me. And this introspection has helped the writing of the book. Started the introspection. I think I'm not done yet.
Well, it's a lifelong journey for us. But I just wondered then, for this couple, the older couple that you spoke about, that were not the kindest of neighbours, how do you infiltrate a mindset like that to help them feel empathy?
Yeah, I really tried to give the good example. I didn't know better, and I thought I in the beginning I really want to understand it, but I think that's really a waste of time. you don't understand them, and then if you understand them, you could tell them, well, you might have suffered in your youth, go to a psychiatrist, but it's obviously they will not listen to you.
Or spend time with my horses.
Yes, and come closer to the horses. Don't harm them. Come closer to the horses. But it's impossible. They're still alive, and they're still doing harm to their neighbors in that part. They're still fighting with all the neighbors around them. It's sad, because at the end of the day, you say, I should have stayed there, but I was not strong enough to stay there, because I don't feel myself like a messiah to change these people. But hopefully they get to read my book.
You can send them a copy, signed copy with love. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, can you recognize who you are in this story? Question. So, Christine, then how did this all come about for you? Because you said you've just come to horse riding a little later in life, and you came there. Why?
Yeah, so I always wanted to horse ride, but I grew up in Ash, and my mom always said, you can do whatever you want to do as long as I can drive you, or as long as you can walk. Exactly. I don't want to drive you, so you have to be able to go on foot, and there were no stables. So I never did take any classes. And then my daughter started horse riding, and I went to drop her off, and I was like, I'm just going to ask, is it possible? Do you give adult classes for beginners as well? And that's how it started. And then Anne, who is doing this project with me and the owner of the stable, she was my teacher, and we started to become friends. So
Anne Ludovici.
Anne Ludovici, exactly. And I think we bonded because we're both entrepreneurs with she's Luxembourgish. I've grown up here, like I came when I was 4 months old, as you said before. So grown up in a very traditional Luxembourgish family. Being entrepreneurial is not typical Luxembourgish. So it was really nice for the both of us to have those conversations about what it's like to be an independent and to have to make your own living, etc. And we really bonded over it. And then she asked me a while ago if this was something I was interested in joining, because I'd done a lot of coaching and run businesses, and so that's how it happened.
Yes, because we haven't spoken about it, but you also have your personal development coaching side, which is Christine Means Business, which is also a very strong statement. And so how did you get into the coaching part, and how do you bring that to the work that you do today with the horses?
It's a long story, but I started very traditional as an English teacher. So I worked 10 years for the government. Then I started as a baby sleep consulting with my own company just for 1 year. Then I did Sleep Like a Boss, which was working with people who had insomniac. And one big part was stress resilience coaching. So I basically I did a lot of personal development myself, because as an entrepreneur, if you don't know who you are, you will never be able to sell your services. So I did a deep dive into all of my feelings, kinesiology, therapy.
Which is again the introspection
Exactly.
part.
So that's why I get the energy work, and I did so many different things, and it was really helpful and helped me to also understand what coaching really means. And part of it was also life coaching. And then I sold my company, and I'm now only doing digital marketing, communications and web design. But a big part of it is coaching my clients, because you need to help them understand who they are in order to communicate clearly. So coaching has always been a big part of what I do.
Does it ever surprise you that a lot of people don't take the time? Or I think perhaps it hits us later in life. We try to figure out who we are ourselves.
I wonder, because I think if I had stayed in my previous career, I would never have asked myself introspective questions, because everything was running smoothly.
In which career? Because
when I was a teacher. Because I loved my job, but it was the same every year with different students. But I knew my salary would come in. I knew what was happening. There was nothing super unpredictable or difficult where I would have to challenge myself.
It's also quite un-Luxembourgish to
it's very
jump from that.
It's very un-Luxembourgish.
To the world of insecurity.
Exactly.
Or sorry, entrepreneurship, I should say.
Yes.
Out of your comfort zone.
Of course,
Definitely.
which I fully approve of, but it requires risk-taking.
Mm-hmm. But I think I'm similar to you, though. I didn't think that through at the time. I was 10 years, no, 15, no, nearly 20 years younger. So I just did it. I don't know if I would be doing it again today. Not sure. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Well, I'm going to come back to you, Christine, just after this very, very short break. So if you're listening on Today Radio, you can find the rest of Christine's story and more conversation with Isabelle on RTL Play with video. You can also, of course, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify and share it with your friends and family. And of course, you can get in touch with me here at Today Radio or RTL Today in many, many ways. But please do join the rest of the conversation coming up right after this very short break.
The Lisa Burke Show.
So continuing, Christine, I mean, I recognise you from the sleep like a boss phase. And I didn't know you. I mean, this is the first time we've met, but I certainly know of your work. So I know that sleep is very important because I did early shifts for 10 years, starting work at 4:30 in the morning. So I really, I can be very, very strict about sleep. And you said that a lot of people suffer from insomnia. And there's this wonderful TED talk if anybody wants to look at the 4 a.m. clock and why everybody wakes up at 4 a.m. because it's a thing. It's a scientific thing. So, I mean, this is a sidebar to our conversation, but just in your entrepreneurial world of sleep, can you give us some tips as to how a person can get a good night's sleep?
Oh God, it's kind of worms. There are a couple of basics, and this is not necessarily for entrepreneurs. I just literally had a friend who asked, who has a loved one who is in hospital due to a really strong form of cancer, and she couldn't sleep. And one little thing that has helped her so much was just getting a really nice eye mask and earplugs, because you have all the lights and you have constant noise, and we really completely underestimate the importance of light. So it could even be a car just passing and the headlights.
You know, I know that from my dog. Sorry to interrupt you, but my dog, when she's quite a large dog, not horse size, but quite a large dog, when it's sort of nighttime and I'm still working or jumping around the house or in my bedroom, because she sleeps in my bedroom, of course. Sorry. When the light's on in my bedroom and I'm dithering about organising things or possibly even working late, she will go into another room that's dark.
Mm-hmm. It is, we underestimate it, and I think we also underestimate that our skin absorbs light as well. So it's really, when people ask me, or when I used to work and go literally into people's places to do evaluation, one of the things was me looking at if their room can actually get completely dark, specifically during this season where it gets light really early until really late. And it would just be sometimes taping black bin liners to their windows in order to avoid having light coming in. That would make all the difference. So sometimes it's really small things that you think it can't make a difference that makes a world of a difference. Pets not in a bedroom would be another one. But it really makes a difference whether you have your pets in your bedroom or not, for various reasons, for noises they make up to the dust that they have, and it just makes a difference. But I get it. I used to have my dogs with me all the time, but I sleep much better without them. But that would be another one. Then I think one that is counterintuitive, but it's to actually get up when you can't sleep. A lot of people think that when I lie here very still, close my eyes and count sheep, I'm going to go back to sleep, and it stresses them out because they're constantly thinking, I'm not asleep. And I much prefer you get up and journal or just do a little bit of ironing. That's what I used to say, just to get a reboot and give yourself those 20 minutes. They won't kill you the next morning, and then go back to sleep, and it will help.
But I can imagine for many people, and this contact of yours who is dealing with a family, a loved one who has cancer, it's the worry inside you that stops you from sleeping. It's the concern, that the gnawing away inside you. How do you quieten that?
My secret weapon, which is not secret at all, is the journaling. Journaling, having your thoughts travel through your arms, through your hands, onto a piece of paper. It's literally doing something with your brain. It transforms your thoughts into something concrete, and it helps you deal with it, which is why probably writing your book was so cathartic as well. It's different when you think. You can imagine it being a spiral in your head that just stays up there. You will come to the same conclusions most of the time. If you write it, there's something happening that literally helps you to transform your thoughts out onto the page, sort of like the Harry Potter movement with the magic wand where it takes them out. So that was one where I would tell clients to journal either before going to bed, but not too much before going to bed. But if you wake up and you have those minds carouseling in your head, to sit down and write them down and ask yourself questions about them. Are they true? Are they valid? Can I change them? And if I can't change them, why am I bothering?
Well, Isabelle, I mean, you have taken the time to write a book. It's arduous. Writing a book is arduous. But how was the process for you when you came into it? You had this whole story. It's your story. It's a very personal and at times very traumatic story. You've explained how you felt when you returned to Luxembourg after the south of France before you then went to another hot climate. But you were, may I use the word, broken slightly. You were not at your best. And so it took time to recuperate and regain your own inner strength. Did writing help?
I think horse riding helped. So it always comes back to horse riding and to be surrounded by nature and my horses. This helped. And the writing, I've always been writing. I started to write when I was, I think my first story I wrote when I was 11 years old. So the writing is like part of my life. Every time I have some thoughts, every time I have some breakup with some boyfriends, I write and I write and I write. And it always helped me. I also wrote scenarios for my short films. So the writing has always been part of it. And the writing of this story was, like I said, it was a diary in the beginning. It was helping me get it out, to understand it. Actually, when you write, I think is to understand something. Actually, yes, it's every time this. You try to understand it. And then as I've been an artist for a long time, then my mind goes into, oh, this is the story, but I'm developing much different images. And the fact that actually my book is an autofiction, not an autobiography, it's not all the truth in the book. Some things I invented. This helped me to take the distance to it. It really, really helped me. But I wanted to say something about the sleep, for example. I have no sleeping problem because I do so much sport that I'm so tired in the evening that I sleep very well. But I use to do a siesta, to sleep in the afternoon when I'm blocked with the writing, for example. I want to write something. I have it somewhere in my mind. I have the plot, but how do I go on? And I instead of stressing me out to find the solution, I go to rest and I sleep like 5, 10, 15 minutes, very short. And then I wake up and then I know how to go on writing. So it's great. And when you think about this, that sleeping can help you out finding solutions, it also probably help people to sleep. Don't stress about sleeping. Just it's confusing. I'm sleeping, and it will unconfuse after sleeping.
Sure.
This for me is, I have a very good relationship to the sleep.
Well, that's good to hear. So if we were to leave any listeners or viewers with final thoughts, what would you like to leave them with, Christine?
I love to challenge people who are very skeptic about this. They're like horses and leadership training, and look at these, Wendy girls, I'm going to say, these whoops obsessed women. Please join us when you're as skeptic as possible, because the aha effect will be the most magical thing, and it's really worth experiencing. I can seriously promise that. I don't make promises easy, but I can promise that it's going to be a really, really beautiful experience. So that would be my invitation for anyone who's listening.
And naturally, we're going to link to the Equestrian Centre in Kehlen, which of course is run with Anne Ludovici. And for you, Isabelle, apart from reading your autofiction.
Yeah, that is free to everybody. I think I want to say that people should always try to get out of their comfort zone. And even they're scared, or they should try, because it's always worth a try. There's Samuel Beckett who said, try again, fail better. And when you fail, actually, it's an experience. And an experience is always something positive. So just try again, fail better.
I haven't brought your daughter into this story much, but how does she reflect on her life's journey?
now she's 22 now. She's starting to say, because she's going with me to the presentations of the book, and she says, wow, how lucky I am. At one point she was saying, yeah, changing school because we moved schools and this and that and moved country. And she has so many friends all around. She's traveling all the time, and I always say, can you not just stay still? And then she's going to Paris, she's going to Luxembourg, she's going to whatever. And she said, how lucky I am. It opened my whole life. It opened so many doors. And obviously the best door that I've opened for her is the passion to the horses.
Well, on that note, let's pay homage to our beautiful horse friends. And there's plenty of opportunity to horse ride in Luxembourg, and plenty of opportunity to service the horses as well. There's always things to be cleaned in the stables and work to be done. No shortage of that at all if you have a free hour or two. And of course, it's summer holidays, so perfect time for people to offer their help when perhaps a stable owner may want to have a little bit of rest somewhere along the lines. Thank you so much, as always, dear listeners, for writing in about your thoughts for other shows and contacts for other shows and ideas which have been sparked by people you've heard on this show. It's really a delight to hear from you, and I really always appreciate it too. So of course you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn or various other social media channels. You can get in touch with the whole team here at RTL Today and Today Radio on various platforms. We're pretty easy to find. We're available on all of the social media platforms. Please do subscribe to the podcast and those of my colleagues as well. There's so many to choose from on Today Radio, and of course we have it across RTL in the other languages, French and in German and in Luxembourgish. And with that, I wish you a beautiful week ahead.